I'm gonna talk about something called crowd law. What's crowd law? Crowd law is a recent development in deliberative democracy, according to which we should treat citizens as experts when we involve them in public policy making. That's a very nice idea, but today I'm going to tell you why that it's a bad idea. And I'm going to tell you this, it's just a call for being more modest when we use the word expert. My presentation today, it's going to be the following. I'm going to set the stage. At first, I'm going to present an introduction to the issue. I'm going to present some of the key concepts that I'm going to talk about during the presentation, and I'm going to explain the relationship between public policy expertise and crowd law. Now, I'm going to defend two arguments against this idea of treating citizens as experts, and the key concept here is experts. I think that's too strong a word for public policy, and the arguments are two. If they are expert, then they are not reliable, and if they are expert, then there's no need for public participation. Right after that, I will just wrap it up and say that do we really need experts for public policy when we're talking about citizen participation? I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say, okay, if not experts, then what? And I'm going to present my main conclusion for this. So I'm gonna set the stage right here. And I'm going to start with a tension that I see between what it's called deliberative democracy and public policy, the theory of public policy. On one side, deliberative democracy tells us that we should empower ordinary citizens to become more and more involved in social issues, including the elaboration of public policy. But at the same time, people working in the theory of public policy tell us, regulation, which is the creation of public policy, it requires a high degree of expertise. Involving the opinions and decisions of ordinary citizens may hinder the quality of the regulation. This is a tension that I think it's an ethical issue, and it's what's the treatment that is due to citizens, what is due to them as citizens in a regime or in a nation that they have to be involved in public policy, but we have to assure the public policy has a good standard of quality. And to solve this kind of ethical issue, I think the key is to first lay the ground in social epistemology. So deliberative democracy basically tells, don't worry, the thing is you solve this dilemma. Basically, you have to argue which are the right conditions under which it's possible to arrive at the correct answer. You have to give the citizens the correct setting. You cannot make deliberation in a great scale, and completely, make them debate. You have to give them full standards and a full process for deliberation. And one step further, and this is a theory inspiring the deliberative democracy, is precisely what I just presented. It's crowd law. And it's a theory of public policy, and it's a theory that says that public participation should be the backbone for public policy. It has to be everywhere in public policy at the 4 stages that I will present. And why? Because they say that citizens possess a concept called public expertise, and which that helps turn into the quality and legitimacy of regulation. What do I mean by this? There are 4 stages of public policy, they claim: problem identification, solution drafting, implementation, and evaluation. And where they're saying, hey, public expertise has to be everywhere here. We have to have citizens helping us identify the problem, drafting the solution, implementing it, and evaluating the solutions that we just created. According to crowd law, the thing is that when we make policy, we should not only ask traditional experts for their opinions, we should also consult citizens. Because regular citizens, they claim, have acquired a high degree of expertise during their lives on key aspects that can be relevant for public policy. So, basically what they say, you want to regulate fisheries? Ask fishermen. Involve them. And before I go on, I want to answer probably a criticism that has been made to crowd law that tends to trivialize it, and it's it's not that you're an expert on everything. It's not that you just have something in your life and then you became an expert actually out of it. It's more like this, and I'm going to use this example all over the talk. You identify one set of stakeholders, like commuters, and then you go and look for the people that are public experts in that area. For instance, we're going to regulate bike lanes. So we look for the people that are going to use those bike lanes, that are maybe going to benefit the most from that. And not the other way around. It's not me going after, hey, I'm a former child, I should be taken into account when regulating children. It's more like the state works around and say, okay, we're going to do this, let's look for the people. And now I'm going to present two arguments against this call for expertise. And my guiding intuitions here, so that are clear, are twofold. Why, the first one is, why do we want to insist on experts? And arguably, it has a very nice ring to it, because it upgrades the epistemic status of the agents in question. If I call someone an expert, well, I'm giving them a lot of room there. But I say that we should take the term seriously, and if you are going to call someone an expert, then you have to bring all the problems that that also has. And that is a problem of reliability. Because there are good reasons, and where there are good scenarios when not trusting experts is a good, it's reasonable, sorry. So I'm just gonna go very briefly over this. It's just like, what is an expert? I'm using a realist account of expertise because I want to use terms just such as trust, trustworthiness, reliability, and that's why I'm using this traditional definition of expertise. Basically, Goldman's, which is an expert is an agent with a comparably large set of truth regarding a particular body of knowledge, and the capacity of applying this knowledge to problems in the area. Standard. And this is not so standard. This is, when should we distrust testimony? Because we're talking about like the testimony that citizens give us. In general, when it's we trust it when it's reliable, we don't trust it when it's not reliable. So when it's expert testimony not reliable, I'm gonna answer that. But before, I'm gonna address the antecedents, if they are experts. So let's see, are they experts? I think, and this is my argument, it's hard to accept that despite the fact that citizens have acquired some degree of mastery in something, that entitles them to experts in it. And why is that? One expert have to have a comparably large set of truths regarding a particular body of knowledge. They can provide information, and normally the information is going to be true, but normally it's not going to be profound enough. And I just want to continue with the example from commuters, and suppose we need to implement a large-scale change bus routes all around the city. If I take just one person or a bunch of people, they can give me very particular information about something, and that's very good, and I have to believe them. There's a duty for me as a public policymaker to be involved with the citizens, but it's hard for me to imagine that they are experts by definition. But remember that the argument is, if they are, then they're not reliable. So by definition, I just think that we have problems here. But don't believe me. Maybe you say, okay, let's just assume they are. Well, then they are not reliable. And why is that? The conditions for reliability of expertise are very high. Because why do we need experts sometimes? We just need experts precisely because we want just to defer automatically to what they're telling us. We just don't want to have second thoughts. We don't have the knowledge that they have. We just defer to them automatically. So actually the standard of reliability is much higher than which normal people, sorry. This is just a compilation from two works on the reliability of expertise, Dive and Goldman. And there are 4 criteria I identified. If you make another literature review, you will find pretty similar ones. Gideon yesterday was telling us some other ones, but actually we don't disagree on this. So it's the ability to critique rival views, the agreement with other experts on the issue at hand, interest alignment with the stakeholders, and past record. And for instance, whether she has been successful in solving similar issues. So reliability here comes in degrees. The more you have of this, the more you can rely on experts. The problem is that if you take each of them, you will see that it's hardly possible to assign a high degree of reliability to citizens that are treated as experts. A normal citizen will be able to criticize rival views, I think not, precisely because their knowledge is not deep enough, in the sense that they are not experts in the definition that I gave you. It's very difficult to assess whether there's agreement with other experts on the issue at hand, like experts, not, and I'm not here begging the question, like actual experts on some issue. Can we assess if there's agreement with other experts? It's hard to do that, because for instance, these people not normally like give talks, go to conferences in Armenia or something like that. And two main things, and Goldman and Dive make great emphasis on this. If we have to have two criteria, it should be the interest alignment with the stakeholders and past records. And there's a problem here, because the interest alignment, Dive tells us, if you don't have interest alignment with the expert, you should never rely on them. And that's the problem. The problem is not only that there may be opposite interests, it's that there will be so many interests, because we're talking about going in a large scale here. We're not just talking about one expert that I'm asking, we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of citizens which we should align our interest. That becomes practically unbearable. So I think you cannot say this. Past records where she has been successful in solving similar issues, there's a problem here. There's no way to attest that, because there's no way to say, hey, so you remember this citizen that 20 years ago like helped us like do something about the red lights in the street? We cannot do that because we don't have the data enough for this. And even if we had it, it's hard to assess whether or not a single citizen has been successful in solving so many problems. This is the first argument that I told you. So, and going to the second one, if they are experts, there's no need for public participation. What I'm trying to exploit here is that crowd law can become self-defeating. Crowd law starts saying, we just call them experts, we involve them in public participation, and we increase the legitimacy and quality of public policy. But the problem is that, well, let's turn back to the definition of experts. Remember, body of truth and capacity of application. And the problem with this is like, why should you need more than one? If you have one expert, that's basically all you need. If you have one expert, then you have done your job. You just ask the expert, and that's it. But if you have to go and ask thousands of experts, that defeats the purpose of expertise. If I have one expert, the point is just I just can defer to the expert and do as they say. But if I'm trying to do this in a large scale, there's no reason in asking for public participation in a large scale, because we already have one expert. So there's no reason to jump from, I believe, from we should treat citizens and experts, and we should do massive public participation and crowd law public policy. So briefly stated, I think the tag expert carries actually a lot. And yes, we can use it to raise the credibility of a process. As I say, hey, he's an expert and he's helping us. That raises the quality of the credibility of what I'm doing. But it also comes with a higher reliability threshold and the full weight of expert testimony. That is what I'm trying to defend right now. Now, just why I'm saying this and why do I think this is important. And I don't think we really need to go that far as crowd law is going. Crowd law tells us, yeah, treat them as experts, you're right. And I think that's not even necessary. Because if there's something that social choice theory has taught us is that we can set the competence standard reasonably low and still have the correct answer. This is all that social choice theory has been trying to establish in the 1800s with a body of results called jury theorems that tell us you just set the expertise or competence standard of people about 50%, 51, let's say, and eventually you will reach the right answer. That's called the Condorcet jury theorem. That's a very naive version, but it's the point. We really don't need experts. We just need the normal citizens. So we don't need to push it that far. And if not experts, then what? I'm saying just have the citizens. There's no need to go and call them experts. And, well, if I can sum it up in a very broad conclusion, while tempting, calling normal citizens experts in matter of their everyday life is actually detrimental when it comes to decide the role they should play in the policy-making process. So, have citizens. You don't need actually experts, and that's all that I had.